Hi there, this is Jo, and welcome to my astrology podcast video on the full moon in Leo that we have on the 13th of February 2025. It will be occurring just after midnight Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So the effects of this full moon will be setting the tone for the next little while, as this is a big shake-up of illumination. We have many direct aspects involving the sun and moon, not least the which is Uranus, which is the ruler of the sun, and is making this full moon feel a bit more full on. So this full moon will be occurring at 24 degrees of Leo. So you would have a look at your natal chart to see where 24 degrees of Leo falls in your chart and which part of your life this full moon will be affecting. So as always, before I dive in, I'll just touch on what the full moon actually is. It is the peak of the lunar cycle. The moon is opposing the sun and reflecting the most amount of light from the sun before it continues on in its cycle to reflect less and less light before turning completely dark again at the new moon and beginning the cycle anew. So this thematically is about culminations and also release. This is revelation, something coming to light, as it were. Because it's an opposition aspect, there is a high energy here of reflecting and polarization. So this is yin, reflecting the true light of yang, or yang beaming its light to illuminate the depths of the yin being the moon, the yang being the sun. So this is high energy, apex energy. This is abundance and fruition, things coming to pass that are a result of previous actions or effort, sometimes seeded at the new moon at the beginning of the lunar cycle, which, by the way, in this cycle was back on the 29th of January at 10 degrees of Aquarius. And because this full moon is occurring in Leo, the brightness factor is kind of accentuated. So interestingly enough, the sun in Aquarius is furthest away from its home sign Leo, in which the moon, of course, is occupying. So the light of this edgy, erratic, off-kilter, genius Aquarian sun is throwing into light the needs of your heart spirit there with the moon in Leo. The sun in Aquarius is the ruler of this full moon in Leo, but it is also opposing it and far away from its home sign of Leo. So traditional astrology says that when a planet is in this position, it is in its detriment and is more uncomfortable or less able to express wholly. So this is certainly true to an extent until we remember that some planets are actually very okay with, quote unquote, not being at home. And that it's important to remember also that an opposition is always on the same axis, two halves of one whole entity, which is not as different as you might think. In fact, there is much more in common in an opposition or a polarity than there is in a sign's next door neighbor. So this rather extroverted axis of Aquarius Leo, it is a fixed sign axis which does not necessarily like change or difference, but with the sun out there, Aquarius shining its original unique light onto this moon in center stage loving prima donna Leo, this quote unquote detriment isn't what I would call a hindrance or a block in this instance, in this particular aspect. So if anything, the hindrance or block is what we're getting from other points in this lunation chart. So before I touch on that one particular hindrance, Uranus, that I mentioned at the beginning, I will just add that both Mercury and asteroid Ceres are conjunct the sun at this lunation over there in Aquarius. I've circled that in the yellow, the sun in Aquarius, and next to the sun we have Ceres at 25 degrees and Mercury at 26 degrees. That's towards the top left of the chart if you'd like to have a look at the screen. So Mercury touched the sun already on the 9th of February and passed Ceres on the 12th of February. The sun will perfect its conjunction to Ceres then on the 15th of February. So this energy that is very present at this full moon, it will linger on in some respects for the next few days with that sun's journey there. So Mercury in Aquarius conjunct the sun is the brilliant mind, Mercury, identifying with the sun, things that are cerebrally stimulating, different, genius. We're thinking about or aware of our friends, our groups, science, technology. This is the politics and the connections in your life coming to light. And then with Ceres thrown there in the mix, this brings to consciousness with the sun how all of this is feeding you, how it feeds your spirit, feeds your healthy conscious ego, your unique inner fire, and how this can sustain you. So Ceres was the goddess of the harvest, the crops, the grain. So this can be how you are fed or nourished or taken care of by your friends and groups, or how you care for or feed your friends or groups. So this could even be in terms of altruistic work as well, being more prevalent and in the light at this time. So it could be interesting to see what does transpire globally in terms of the food industry, especially in Aquarius, technology and food, farming, growing, harvesting, and the politics around this. This is also highlighting what you are feeding your brain. As I said in my part 3 Aquarius forecast video over there on my Patreon, if you wanted to check that out, it goes into this a bit more deeply. What are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding into your wishes and aspirations for the future? Because this is also what Aquarius talks about. This can be bringing to light or working on how you can positively feed your wishes and aspirations for the future, how you can healthily stimulate your mind. Now, with these factors in play, all opposing the moon there, isolated in Leo. So Leo is down on the bottom right of the chart if you wanted to have a look, circled in yellow. So the moon is like its center stage here, which is appropriate in Leo. And because of this opposition, there is a tension with opposing forces here. This is them in Aquarius versus me in Leo. This is the detached mind versus the attached heart. This is the struggle of freedom versus rulership. This is what this axis with Aquarius and Leo can speak of. This can all be internal within you. This can also be about your sovereignty, which is another big energy of Leo as well. So the moon in Leo brings to your attention what needs attention. Leo loves attention, affection, being noticed, being validated, being acknowledged as special. With the moon here, this is what you may be feeling a need of. There has been hugely dispersonal energies with Aquarius this month and extremely transcendental, otherworldly energies with this strong stellium in Pisces, which I have also spoken about this more in my Patreon forecast videos. So head over there if you feel like you could really benefit from a heads up on how these really strong energies are playing out. And then amongst all of that, out there, dispersonal energy, here we have this full moon by itself in bright, shining, very personal Leo. There is only one major aspect that this moon in Leo is making directly, besides, of course, that opposition to the sun causing the full moon. And even that is not technically a major point. It's a trine there to Kuiper belt object Eris and Centaur Chiron. And this is rather exciting. I'll get to that in a moment. But technically, because these two are not considered quote unquote major points, the moon technically is unaspected. So this makes the Leo energy more undifferentiated, more potent, more visible. That's, of course, not taking Eris and Chiron in Aries into consideration, who will really be adding the punch to this point in fire here. So there could be a feeling of the overwhelm of the overall energies at play right now, and just wanting to feel your own personal light again, to get back to your true essence. This may not be easy at this time, simply because there is a lot going on. But Moon in Leo shows us that to enhance your well-being here, you must be in touch with that inner heart, inner spirit, inner sense of your true being. And that is what Leo and also the sun teach. And the sun there in Aquarius can be beaming its light onto the fact that you may want to be breaking free into that true inner essence. What you may need right now is some warmth, human touch, heart connection. Also, very much, perhaps creative expression. Leo wants to express, to show, to display, usually creatively. It is a very regal sign that reminds you that you are the ruler of your life and you can move through life with sovereignty unreservedly. So this with the moon is what you may be feeling the emotional need to do for your well-being, for your sense of belonging, even for your sense of safety here. I feel like it's to do with your sense of belonging to yourself. There are certainly strong themes of that here. So Mercury in Aquarius with that sun in opposition, it's really talking to this Leo moon saying, yes, but look at humanity, look at your connections, your friends, your groups, your future-oriented wishes. Look outwards and connect outwards. But the moon needs that inner connection, especially to that authentic spirit essence that is truly yours, because you cannot authentically connect with society around you if you aren't even connected to your own inner being. And so Ceres here, part of this opposition. This is interesting because Ceres is another mother archetype, as is the moon. Now, Ceres is the face of the great mother who tells you that to everything there is a season, and you cannot prolong one season longer than its natural time, whether you like it or not. Grief and letting go is what Ceres helps us to move through, because in myth, she lost her daughter and then got her back for certain seasons of the year. Again, listen to my Patreon forecast if you want to deepen that meaning of Ceres, who was that earth goddess of the grain. I go into her symbolism a little bit more. So this opposition to the moon could indicate that maybe you've been feeding yourself on all levels, socially, mentally, emotionally, trying to hold on to, because this is a fixed sign, trying to hold on to what you've been feeding yourself. And this can now feel at odds with what you truly need to be yourself. Take however that resonates. I'm sure that will land on you however it's meant to. So whatever you've been feeding your energetic bodies, that is time to release, will now come to a culmination and release at this full moon. On that note, Uranus. Okay, we have Uranus at 23 degrees of Taurus at the midpoint of this sun-moon opposition. Therefore, we have a T-square. Uranus is down there on the bottom left of the chart, circled in a light orange, if you wanted to have a look at the screen there. This is a tense, pointy, challenging aspect that forces growth and change. Now, Uranus is the archetype of change, freedom, awakening, that lightning bolt of cosmic knowing that shows the truth and requires an overhaul of things that don't serve this cosmic advancement, truth, and freedom. Now, in saying that, Uranus is in Taurus, which is the first primal fixed sign, the first earth sign. So Taurus does not like change, does not like movement. It wants to stay on the recliner, peaceful, eating grapes, never mind the slave revolt occurring on the first floor of the manor downstairs. This is the great awakening, opening your eyes to what fundamentals you have in your life that are stale, that need air. Now in Taurus, this is your values, what you value, how you value yourself, your self-worth. This is reflected, of course, in your finances and energy exchanges. This is how your basic needs are met in the material plane. This is how you feel abundant, how you gain abundance. Uranus here is zapping this full moon with the awareness, sometimes shocking, surprising, out of the blue revelations, that something's got to give. These are fixed signs, remember, so they do not want to budge. So here at this full moon, you may become highly aware of what you are fixated on that perhaps challenges the sovereignty of your true creative special essence there with this full moon in Leo. And that can be challenging your future aspirations for yourself with the sun in Aquarius there. So what needs to change? What needs an upgrade in your friends, groups, affiliations, social connections, your vision for the future? And what needs to change in your need to feel safe in your true sense of self with the moon in Leo? What needs to change here? Uranus is giving you the realignment. Something will come to light, something will be perhaps even blasted into consciousness, and there will be no going back to the past. There is always free will. Aquarius and Uranus are adamant about that, as is astrology, which Uranus and Aquarius rule, by the way, also Sag, by the by. So if you choose not to change, or even if this lunation is showing you what you must dig your heels in about to remain sovereign, to remain free and heart-centered, then of course let that be your guide. And whatever you choose or don't choose from here, the trajectory will have a different dimension to it now, it's a different season, a different cycle on a different level. So 2 things about this T-square. 1, the beneficial thing to do to balance out a T-square is to look at the empty corner to the sign that completes the T-square. Secondly, that final fixed sign here is Scorpio. And in Scorpio, we have asteroid Juno in orb of completing this T-square to make it a grand cross, also known as a grand square. So you may see on the screen there that big yellow square with a cross through it, if you wanted to have a look at the screen. So for Juno, most astrologers use a tighter orb. She's at 28 degrees of Scorpio. So she is less than 5 degrees away from the lunation degree, but still further away than what most astrologers would consider terming within orb. But given that she's a larger asteroid and also very powerful, she's the queen of heaven after all, and given the fact that she is actually completing this figuration, which is already there, I'm going to include her in this. So Juno in Scorpio, it's showing how we commit with sovereignty, what we are merging our energies with to share intimately. And this is with anything, contracts, finances, relationships. This is how we join in relationship. And Juno points out what is not healthy. And especially in Scorpio, she points out how you share and how you commit in ways that are potentially toxic. So Juno is about relationships mostly, and Scorpio is, with Libra, one of the relationship signs. So this points quite strongly to the fact that relating and sharing and intimacy and your relationships or your relationship will be tied up with this lunation. So in myth, Juno was not treated well in her own marriage, and she and her dastardly husband had a very toxic relationship cycle. Juno has been somewhat demoted throughout history to being a goddess of wives and marriage. That's why even in astrology, she's just known as the marriage asteroid, and about contracts and what we commit to. It is crucial to remember that Juno is also a goddess of all women. And as the Queen of Heaven, she shows that women have power, that you have power, man or woman, in relationship, in sharing, in intimacy. There may be power struggles within the politics of your life and in your relationships at this full moon. There could be challenges to your sovereignty at this full moon, because along with Leo, Juno does actually, of course, speak of sovereignty as well. So there could be potential blocks to your creative expression, or feeling that your sense of freedom and hope is somehow stymied by your relationships or what you're committed to. This may be sounding quite dramatic, but look, it's the Leo full moon. I'm allowed to be. Juno in Scorpio shows you your power within a cycle, shows you your divinity and regality as a sovereign being singularly, and how that will only work within a relationship if you allow for your sovereignty and do not allow it to be taken from you, to be disrespected or even vilified. In Scorpio too, she shows here that your deep, passionate emotions are valid and allowed to be felt. The way that the myths were written about Juno were rather comedic and scathing of the way that Juno would get upset at her husband for disrespecting her. So in astrology, I have found that Juno also shows how you can be put down for feeling your valid emotions. So that is also what can be coming up at this full moon as well. The challenge with that square to Leo, the moon in Leo, could be how to express in an empowered way. With her opposition to Uranus, this is the breaking of a cycle, the breaking of a contract, the awakening to what needs to shift, to advance, to break away in a contract, a commitment, or a relationship, or even a way of relating to people or sharing with people. The square to that sun there in Aquarius says that the difficulty could be in feeling reined in from expressing freely or being free. So, taking the positives in a nutshell, you'll need to express creatively, and you'll need to feel your true inner essence can balance with your powerful relationships and commitments. And if it doesn't, it is time to break the cycle. Your need to express creatively and to feel your true inner essence can balance with the objectivity and future thinking ego. And you can change, upgrade, advance, shift in how you value yourself with Uranus there in Taurus. Uranus is the outermost planet here with the most weight behind it. So it's this changing of values and fundamentals that is really the linchpin of this grand square, feeding into this full moon. So you can feel like there's all these directions and you won't or can't follow any of them. And fixed signs really don't mind staying put. But Uranus here says that the inner change here will be catalyzing the outer change. And this is what will serve your future, serve your sense of self, sovereignty, even serve your healthy relationships, empowered relationships, as well as serve truly being your own unique spirit essence. So whatever shake-ups you're going through right now at this full moon, whilst very uncomfortable, this Uranus in Taurus has been in play for a while now, and he's at his last hurrah here, and I feel like he's ringing his bells at this lunation. So it's really time to pay attention to that inner voice, or to all of the signs that have been telling you, as I said before, something's got to give, something has to change here. because it is a reflection of your self-worth that feeds your abundance and feeds the love in your life. And that is what is needing to shift right now. So onto that one aspect that the moon is making here, apart from this grand square, we have the Leo full moon trining Chiron in Aries there at 19 degrees, nearly 20, and also more exactly trining Eris in Aries at 24 degrees. They are circled on the left-hand side in blue if you wanted to have a look at the screen there. So this is healing with fire, with Chiron in Aries. So this full moon can be, even if it doesn't feel like it, a healing process. And Eris there is portending disruption and possible mayhem, but perfection and order is usually created from this chaos with Eris in aspect, because that is her purpose. She points out what is there to be triggered. She points out what is already in chaos, what is already being neglected, repressed, not addressed. It is activated because it is there, and it's through the activation that the chaos is resolved and true divine order comes into play. So at the full moon here, you're probably going to have an illumination around just how far you have aligned your own chaos already, how much of yourself you have accepted. And this is fuel for that Leo fire that wants to blaze brightly in its own right. And this is what you can do, coming from the heart, coming from that transcended, wise, experienced identity consciousness there with Chiron and Aries, coming from the knowledge that there is actually nothing to fear from facing your messiness, your messy parts with Eris in Aries there. So what is causing you chaos is passing if you choose it. What disrupts your raw, wild senses of passion is actually what is trying to confine it. So express that rawness, express your wildness. Do this with love coming from your heart. Let yourself loosen so that you can see yourself clearer. That's what I just got from this fiery trine. Take it however it resonates with you. Remember also, Leo is brave. Leo is honorable and comes from the heart. And this bit of fire here in an overwhelmingly air and water-based chart with a bit of earth thrown in, this bit of fire is saying that the sparks of change and passion and inspiration are already within you, and your own ineffable vitality is within you, and you can tune into that spark by nurturing your true creative self here, expressing yourself with courage and with honor, and expressing with that knowing of your unimpeachable sovereignty. Most of all with Leo here, have fun, laugh, play, create. Leo is about the inner child here. Let the inner child out to play. Let the inner child within you feel safe, feel noticed, feel validated, feel the warmth of life, however you can best feel it. And remember positivity. Remember that the sun will always rise. So that brings me to the tarot. I'm again using the Greek Goddess Tarot by Ellen Lorenzi Prince, and this is the Queen of Cups. How appropriate to have royalty here for a Leo lunation. So this Queen of Cups is depicted in this deck by Aphrodite in her Aphrodite Urania aspect. That is to say that this depicts the heavenly, starry aspect of Aphrodite and how she is connected to the cosmos and the heavens. So this is really pointing to Uranus here, because Urania is the Greek pronunciation of Uranus. So remember, in myths, Aphrodite was actually born from Uranus and the ocean. Now, the Queen of Cups is about emotions, and it's the suit of water. And as the Queen here, this is about emotional maturity, emotional understanding, and sharing it, using it. So following your experienced intuition, having and showing compassion, kindness. This is about the wisdom of the heart, nurturing your emotions and nurturing your heart, being empathetic, sympathetic, without allowing that sensitivity to be trespassed or leached. So having healthy emotional structure. This is about having the emotional support that you need in these times. This can be feeling your emotions on your own terms, however they come up. That's Juno and Scorpio talking there. This is also feeling safe to feel these emotions as well. So making a safe energetic space for that, making sure that you're protected. And maybe you can reach out to a counselor or to someone who embodies this Queen of Cups energies for you. Now, this is also leading with love, leading with the heart. I mean, she really is the Queen of Love here. Aphrodite Urania on this card is flying through the heavens on a swan, which is a symbol of the grace and endurance of true love. Swans mate for life, and they are very protective creatures. So there are diamonds of light on this image radiating outwards from this goddess. And it's almost like by riding on the wings of love, your own self-love, which is what Uranus and Taurus has been teaching us, radical self-love. It's like riding on the wings of love, your own self-love and self-worth. You're lifted up into the heavens, into enlightenment here. And Leo, remember, the full moon in Leo is representing the heart and the true inner essence of your being. And Uranus in Taurus, which has been crucial to this Leo full moon, is a sign ruled by Venus, planet of love, and is actually the Roman counterpart of Aphrodite. So the heart is so emphasized here. And ultimately, through whatever you're going through at this time, it's a heart awakening, a heart upgrade. This is opening you up to feel more love, not from others. Perhaps Juno and Scorpio is showing that it isn't from others that we receive the love of the universe. With this Queen of Cups ascending to heaven, up-leveling her heart, she's alone. She is shining her light from her heart, just her. So perhaps this is what you're being called to do. And that may be the difficulty because it's confronting. The Leo Aquarius axis can give stage fright, freezing, resistance to being singular, to having attention. And the Queen of Cups, Aphrodite Urania, says that it's going to be okay, that the great cosmic ocean of the stars in the universe is only always reflecting the light of love that you put out into the world and reflecting the love that you feel within yourself. So consciously with the sun, choose love. Feel with the moon your heart in Leo. Awaken your cosmic heart and ascend. And it is by heart centering that the turmoil and the storms here can really be weathered. So I hope that you have a very warm, vibrant, passionate, fun full moon in Leo. Thank you very much for being here and listening in. If you want to know more about me and more about astrology, I have a Patreon now that you can explore for more astrological wisdom and context around what I'm talking about in these lunation video podcasts. So blessings, happy full moon, and thank you once again for being here. Bye for now.